But first up, he is the journalistic icon who is associate editor of the Washington Post. His 19th book is Fear, Trump in the White House. We got him, Bob Woodward. Hey, great pleasure.
Nice to do this.
Oh, please. You need me like you need a hole in the head. You must have made a fortune off this one, and you deserved it. That is a good read, Fear.
Thank you.
And a good title. That, you know, you could have had many titles, but that says it. That is the essential point. I think you're right about Donald Trump. Fear of other things like caravans coming, and then fear of him.
And what was so amazing, interviewing him 2 years ago, he gave it to us. We asked about what real power is, and he said, real power is fear. And it was almost like Hamlet in Shakespeare, an aside saying, this is what it is. This is the driver. And so ever since then, I thought, this being out of his mouth, it's a way of scaring the bejesus out of people. That's the operating style.
And his own party. I thought it was very telling that at his post-election, I guess we can call it a press conference, although it looks like none we've ever seen before, he called out, not Democrats, people in his own party. This person didn't support me enough, they lost. You know, we've never, you know, Frank Sinatra used to do this with critics. In his older days, he'd be like, this dumb broad doesn't know a good tune when she hears it. You know, this is not presidential, but that's the fear. He's putting, people ask why the Republicans fall in line behind him. They fear him, right?
Yeah, and I think the country fears him, and so the world fears him.
Well, they either fear him or love him.
Yeah, but I think the bottom line in all of this, that the fear has worked, but we're in a governing crisis. I try in the book to deal with the substance, everything in foreign policy, everything in economic and domestic policy, and it's just, you know, he's gambling with who we are and what the country is, and
could win. I think you are pretty much on my page about the fact that this is a lot worse than people think, and they think it's bad. But I keep saying, I don't think he's leaving. Even if he loses the election in 2020, and I think what you see going on right now in Florida, there's this recount, he's involved, he's already talking about it a lot. I think that's a dress rehearsal for what we're going to see if he does lose in 2020. I do not see a scenario that we've seen on January 20th of the next year where he welcomes the winner graciously. I don't see that.
But what, going back to Watergate, 45 years ago, Nixon, what was said about Nixon was that he had a lust for political power. Now, you know, Trump understands lust, to say the least. And it is part of his being to get power over people and to crush them, to demean them. As you point out, people in his own party, no one is free from that kind of lashing criticism. And what astonished me in working on this book is getting close to the people who were close to him, and the closer they were, the more they worked with him, the more anxiety and fear and concern, so they would take documents off his desk. The Secretary of Defense had to say, gee, because Trump's, why are we doing all of these things, investing in NATO? And finally, the Secretary of Defense said, well, we're doing all these things to prevent World War III. Now think about that. This is a year into office that the president has to be tutored on what the job is. Job one, prevent World War III. And, you know, I've done this for 47 years, and when I learned about that, I got a chill to think that is going through somebody's mind of, oh, we don't need all this stuff. Let's just go it alone. Let's not waste all this money. We're suckers, Trump says. And then you hear it on the rallies last week, the same idea that somehow we're helping all these people in Europe and the Middle East by putting our troops there, and all the generals to a single person are saying, no, 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 this is the best money we spend. It's for our security. And he does not comprehend that. Trump does not.
So I know. Some of the people you write about in the book are gone now. And I remember back in 2017, about a year ago, there was this talk about a sort of a suicide pact, metaphorically, of course, that some of the people in the administration were going to resign en masse. And I remember saying, no, that's not a good idea, because those people who would not be my choices for the cabinet were still better than what's coming next. Rex Tillerson, oh, I miss him. Gary
He
Cohen.
was somebody who stood up to Trump.
This was the A team, not my choices, but like normal people, somewhat.
Yeah.
Now we're getting the B team. They talk about red lines a lot, you know, Sessions. If he gets fired, it's a red line. This new guy, Whitaker, said, if they go into Trump's finances, connecting with Russia, which is the whole connection, of course, red line. To me, this Whitaker guy, that's a red line. When you start putting the top cop of the country as just a stooge, just a guy who's there to do the bidding of the supreme leader, that's the slow-moving coup.
But the question is, how do you run the Justice Department, which is supposed to deal with law, right? As we know, Trump really doesn't care much about law. He's going to do his own thing. He is his own person, and we have this presidency, which is a projection of his personality.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because he's a malignant narcissist.
Well,
and everything goes through that, I think. I think that's the root of all the
But
evil.
he's got ideas that...
none of them.
Well, yes, but they actually masquerade as ideas. But they really are views, and the staff will say, where'd you get these ideas? And he said, oh, I've had them for 30 years.
Yeah.
And if you disagree, you're wrong.
Well, and he
End of argument.
And he doesn't get them from reading. He gets them from the Department of People is Saying. But I think what reporters should start asking him is, or other Republicans, what about 2 terms for the president? Would you come out on record and say there is no situation in which a president can serve more than 2 terms? If that's not a red line, and I bet you they hem and haw.
Well, let's hope. I mean, that would be over a red line. That would be something.
Well, you know people. Start asking them.
Yeah, okay.
Ask Marco Rubio. He sounds like an asshole about this today.
Yeah. But look, you have a lawyer.
Do I need one?
Yeah, no, I mean, just
I need a bodyguard is what I need.
To exist.
A lawyer is not going to cut it
anymore. You have to have a lawyer. Well, I have in the book Trump's lawyer, John Dowd. 8 months. They worked together as closely as people can actually, and they're dealing with the Mueller Russia investigation. And so they go through a practice session, and Dowd realizes that Trump cannot tell the truth.
Right.
He makes up things.
Yes.
He lies.
Yes.
And he finally says, I will not sit next to you if you testify with Mueller, because I know you will wind up in an orange jumpsuit.
Right.
Because you won't tell the truth. And finally, Dowd concludes that, you know, maybe Mueller has something, but that the core problem here is, and he didn't want to insult the president because he liked the president, he'd worked with him, but he said the real problem is you're a fucking liar.
Bob Woodward, enjoyed you for a long time. It's so great to get you on here. It's a great book.
Thank you.
The great Bob Woodward, everybody. Thank you.